excited to have with us today the lovely Hillary Coe, who is one of our clients who did an incredible build. And not only that, she has just a spectacular story. And so I'm really excited to have an opportunity to share a little bit about her. So Hillary,
yes,
you have a very diverse background. So you've been involved in things like modeling,
yes,
drag racing,
yes,
flight.
yes,
You've done a little space work,
a little bit.
creative director.
Yes,
You've won an Emmy.
yes,
But right now your primary focus has a lot more to do with your focus on aerospace,
yeah.
and you are a pilot, so clearly getting off the ground is a focus for you. Tell us a little bit about what that attraction is.
Yeah, so mainly what I've been doing for the last 5 or 6 years is aerospace focused, both in aviation and aerospace. I've been the first design director for SpaceX for a couple years, and I'm a commercial pilot as well, just because it's something I've always wanted to do, but finally having the funds to be able to actually do that has actually really helped me in my career of human experience design with the astronauts for spaceflight. What attracted me to space is, I think, what attracts everyone to space. It's humanity's greatest adventure, right? And kind of what I saw is a big gaping hole in visual design. Mm-hmm. We've got these amazing sci-fi movies, and the International Space Station looks like the inside of a VCR. So being a designer, coming up from advertising and film and working at Google and Apple, I just felt like I had a very specific expertise that I could apply to an industry that has not really taken a look at the visual element and the human experience element. And now that we're getting into passenger flights, basically anyone who owns a Kelly Moss car can basically get a ticket to space. That's a much different audience, right? Mm-hmm. Those aren't Air Force, guys. Those are people like you and I needing to exist and thrive in an extreme environment. So it was really fun for me to be able to tackle what does that look like? What does it feel like while meeting all the standards of keeping people alive?
Well, it seems like, actually, in listening to you talk about it, it's the perfect collaboration of everything that you've done in your life and bringing it to, let's be honest, the most sexy industry that there could possibly be.
Now it is sexy.
Thanks to you. We met because you are a little bit in love with the Porsche brand.
Just a little bit.
And had seen some of our builds and had
Yes.
reached out to me on social media, just congratulating us on some of our builds. And I kind of said, hey, come join the fun.
You did.
You said, okay, let's do it.
You did. You are, in fact, the crux with me being a dreamer about one day being a Porsche owner myself, and now being able to say that I own my very own special Porsche.
Actually, components of that build,
Yes.
of the Tesla that you put into orbit, that are acknowledged on the current build that you have here.
Yes, you guys were very kind, and I think one of the great things about what you do with your builds is you listen to the client, and you get to know us and what it is we're about, what our motivations are, and I just couldn't be happier with the things that you surprised me with. It's just something that makes it all the more special to be in this family of Kelly Moss. Is I feel like, getting into my car, seeing the "don't panic" which is a big thing. That was what we had on the GPS system for the Tesla Roadster on the GPS. So it was just like paying attention to all those different things, like the NASA, spaceflight object, all those little features that, I think you wouldn't notice at first glance perhaps, but they are there, and it just made the Porsche feel so much more me.
Yeah.
Which I just adore,
Yeah.
just even having, the pleasure and the honor of having a safari build from you guys, but also having it feel so custom to who I am as a person.
Yeah.
just made it all the more special.
Well, you really helped in the customization process because I can't say that there's a lot of clients that come to us that are designers themselves.
Sure.
Nobody's ever brought us so much as a mood board, let alone a 59-page document where you fully understand that you can have some imagery that has nothing to do with a car whatsoever, but gives us a really strong feeling of who you are and what you're looking to accomplish. And you clearly are accustomed to presenting these decks to people.
Yes.
So it was just a delight to be able to have that. Is that a very common part of what you do, being able to provide the vision in advance?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's essential to any creative process is to start with, you start with the why, which is my friend Simon Sinek always says, where it's what's the problem to solve, what's the mood you want to create. We did that with all of our spacecraft conceptual design, starting with, is it James Turrell lighting? Who are, our inspirations? And I didn't see any less for this Porsche, right? I had this fantasy, this vision in my head of who I was with the Porsche. I mean, it's why Porsche is so iconic, right? It's about developing this identity and this feel and this symbolism that you get to be a part of. And so I just had these visions of, the femme fatale, with the leather and the heels, being able to get in and tear apart the desert, but then, drive down the city. And so I just wanted to make sure that at a base level, that was illustrated, right? This is my vision. This is my fantasy of what I'm looking to create. So I'm glad it was helpful.
It was very helpful. And I think that it's important to point out that the car has a lot of incredibly masculine features. It's incredibly powerful. It's got enormous tires on there. It's very beefy. It can get the job done, but it still has a feminine touch. Mildly similar to yourself, right?
Yes, I can get dirty, but I can also do my hair.
So I think that for both of us being women in a more male-dominated industries, I think both of us would probably prefer to be a little bit more behind the scenes than what we are. But there's a certain responsibility of saying, okay, I'm doing a damn good job, and I need to show that to other women so that people recognize that this is an industry that women are welcome into and can come on board. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience with being a little bit more in the forefront to help inspire women?
Sure, and I think, one thing that was really hard for me, starting off as a race mechanic and a driver, all the way up through the tech world and aerospace, obviously very traditionally male, and aviation as a commercial pilot. But I do think that the hardest thing for me was giving myself permission in a space where we don't have a lot of permission to be ourselves. You either need to, be one of the guys, or, you cannot be threatening or intimidating. And I think that where I've found the best success is not denying my feminine side, but giving myself permission to be exactly who I want to be, despite the fact that the arena is not set up for someone like us. And I think that both you and I do a great job of, blending those two lines. I think Valoria is actually a perfect representation of that, because really what I wanted was something I could take off and tear through the desert in, but something that's also elegant, something that, you're cruising down the boulevard in Beverly Hills and it does not look out of place. And I think that's really hard to do, not only in a car, but as a person, right? To be able to kind of create that own identity for yourself that's not a traditional role. And I think that's why it's so important for men, especially in these fields where, you fit right in, to kind of help advocate for us women to be ourselves. And it's not to say that, you would have to spend a lot of time, on somebody that doesn't really have the talent, doesn't have the chutzpah, but just making them feel welcome in the space. And I think that's what we were able to do with this build, is really push the boundaries of that dichotomy.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that one of the areas, so quite honestly for me, I feel like every opportunity that you have to take control of a situation by looking inward gives you more chance of success. And for me, I feel like one area that women can maybe step up in that dance between the two different worlds is to not be so in your face when they come across perhaps somebody that is not as enlightened or not recognizing that they're misstepping. Not get in their face and be nasty about it, but be gentle about it, because there's as many women that are not enlightened about this type of stuff as there are men.
Yep, and I actually see much more of a challenge with other women in these fields. I mean, when I was a driver, I got a lot of flack from other female drivers, and and I think it dives into a lot of insecurity that we might have, especially in these fields we don't necessarily traditionally belong in. But I think that's why the word permission always resonates with me, because always being able to give yourself permission, even though, oh my God, what am I doing in aerospace? Like I'm not some rocket scientist, but I can learn enough to be productive with the talents that I have. And I think that that's the throughput, is always giving yourself permission to be in the space. And now I think, once you get a name for yourself, then the friction is gone. Like that's what I'm starting to feel, at least in my career, is that I get to play in all these spaces. I get to give myself permission to have my Safari Porsche of my dreams and to be able to design spacecraft. I mean, that's it. I'm living the dream that I've always wanted for myself.
We are shitting a stick. Let me just go over there. Who was that?